Algorithms are a set of detailed instructions for accomplishing a task or solving a problem. In other words, it is a step-by-step procedure for completing certain tasks. In algebra, if people were tasked to solve for something like 1 plus 2 star 0, it would possibly confuse those who only know the basic operations alone. Those who'd go about it from left to right, like written language, would come up with 0 as the result. But for those who knew the PEMDAS rule, would prioritize the multiplication before the addition, therefore coming up with 1 as the result. In this case, the PEMDAS rule can be considered to be something of an algorithm that specifies the order and priority of mathematical operations. In coming up with an algorithm, one must consider the desired outcomes, then plan accordingly. If the task is to look for a certain pair of socks in a messy drawer, it could be helpful to try and sort the contents while pulling them out one by one, in order to be able to properly identify the target when it's finally made more accessible. By the end of the search, not only will the searcher have found a pair of socks that was needed, but also have the drawer more organized for a next search for an item. However, if the task was to cook something like omelette rice from scratch, one might have to consider that the certain ingredients like egg would cook faster than ingredients like rice. This way, it makes most sense to start preparing the rice before frying the egg. From here on, the rest of the process could be fine-tuned along the way in anticipation for having both the egg and the rice ready to be plated and served. Sometimes algorithms have to be analyzed in order to figure out ways it can be made better and more efficient. For example, someone had a flight to catch first thing in the morning, and they needed to pack their things for a trip. This person would have to plot out the remaining time they have left for packing up, accounting for everything they need to bring for a trip, as well as the other tasks they could still be able to do, such as tonight's sleep or tomorrow's breakfast. At first, this person makes their plans based on the average case of all the other times they've done something similar. Have they forgotten to bring their toothbrush before? Then they take extra precautions to ensure the toothbrush is most definitely in the luggage this time. Does taking a nap during the flight provide a good enough rest for the rest of the journey? If so, it might be okay to sacrifice some of tonight's sleep to make sure a good breakfast is had before leaving for the airport. When the process is finally set in motion, they work towards and look forward to a best case scenario where they don't have to make too many sacrifices and still have a good flight. On the other hand, the worst case scenario they'd be doing their best to avoid would be to miss the flight because things just happen to take so much longer to do. It can't be helped that certain factors can't be controlled to the extent of consistent perfection. This gives all the more reason to analyze and improve algorithm design. At some point, when dealing with tasks that involve sorting things, an algorithm could be employed to split the set into two in order to more efficiently achieve the desired results. For example, two roommates share the same address, so their shared mailbox would contain a mix of letters that are meant for either one or the other. They decide to sort the collected mail together, splitting the stack in half so they can both work on sorting which letters belong to whom. And by the time they finish, they put together their results by handing what wasn't meant for themselves to each other. Unfortunately, computers usually do not have roommates to help them sort things. So the general idea of the merge sort algorithm is that one half of it is sorted separately from the other half, and the both of them get merged together to finalize the intended order for the whole set. With this general idea, another example involving a lone sorter would be someone who is trying to put away a very big pile of laundry. The large pile could be overwhelming to take on at once, so the sorter could comfortably take half of the load to be folded and segregated first. Then they can come back later for the rest of it once the first half is neatly sorted enough. Eventually, all the laundry will have been folded and segregated, so all that's left to do is to tuck them all into the closet. In the real world, algorithms could start sounding like to-do lists that are more associated with work and strict routines. But the truth is, algorithms can be applied even to casual things like play. There are algorithms that seek out and match specific bits of string characters. For computer programs, that could be used for spell checking or keyword verification. In play, this can be used for games like Scrabble. Players are given an amount of tiles containing letters with corresponding score values. The objective is to take turns to lay the letter tiles onto the board to form words. The player's scores are determined by a sum of the values on the tiles they lay on the board, and the player with the highest score by the end of the game wins. For each turn, a player would be employing a string matching algorithm to put together cohesive words out of the random scrabble of letters they are given. Based on the game's objective, higher priority would usually be placed on letters of higher score values in order for the player to score as much as they possibly can each time they lay tiles down. Sometimes, players would even opt to sort their random set of letters in a more meaningful way, so it would be easier for them to keep track of what their next move should be. In summary, algorithms in the real world are just procedures that keep a clear objective in mind. There are many possible ways to achieve this, but an algorithm provides a logical and structured solution. Algorithms can fail and can also be improved upon until eventually it becomes as smooth and as natural as a habit for day-to-day endeavors.